Welcome to Eye on Horror, the official podcast of iHorror.com. This is episode 84, otherwise known as season 5, episode 6. I am your host, James J. Edwards, and with me, as always, is your other host, Jacob Davidson. How you doing, Jacob?
Doing okay. Just tired. Had a rough night.
Rough night. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I was driving back from horror trivia, and this storm hit, and I was trying to get out of the hills. It's crazy.
Oh no! Yeah, it rained hard, even down here. It rained really hard last night.
Tried driving down the fucking northern hills during a torrential downpour. That was some intense shit.
Yeah, it rained. Correia and Jacob are in LA. I'm in San Diego. It rains maybe 10 days total out of the year. And I guess Jacob got caught in one of them. Also with us, as always, is your other host, John Correia. How you doing, Correia?
It rained last night?
Rained hard down here.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm on the other side of the hills that Jacob was just talking about. And well, look who was a sleepy boy and slept right through it, I guess. No, I was out cold by midnight, so doing old man things.
The rain hit here. Actually, it was probably 2 a.m. when it actually hit. So, but it hit hard. It rained really hard, especially this morning when I got up to feed the dogs at 6. It was really coming down. But the sun is shining bright right now, and it is 8:05.
Beautiful day.
It cleared up fast. So, what have you guys been doing? I saw what has knocked X out of my number one movie of the year, and it isn't Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, you saw Ambulance?
No, I saw The Northman.
Ooh, how
The
was
Northman
that?
Is freaking awesome. I loved it. It's kind of typical Robert Eggers. It's that period piece thing where I think people like The Witch. People will benefit by watching it with subtitles. It's just so because it's not quite as bad as The Witch in that regard because they don't go like old English, but it's just they have heavy accents. But it is. It's weird because I usually don't like period movies like that, but I loved The Green Knight and I loved The Northman. So maybe I'm taking a turn on them. It's basically it's a retelling of the old Norse legend that inspired Hamlet. So it's a dude whose dad gets killed and he vows revenge, but it is it's just brutally violent. It is just it's just caked in mud and blood and it's so awesome. There's one scene in the trailer that I love that it's just so baller where the Vikings are storming this castle and one of the castle guards throws a spear and the prince's name is Amleth, the guy who he's a prince because his dad that was killed was a king. He catches the spear, does a spin and throws it back and hits the guy who threw the spear at him on the wall. And if you watch real quick, it's a quick snippet of it, but you can see it in the trailer. It's such a baller move.
That is number one, the way to do it. If you're able to pull that off and you're in the situation battle or whatever, and someone throws a spear at you, if you're able to catch it and throw it back at that person, that's just you get to go home after that.
Dude, no, they still had to storm the castle.
No, you should get a medal and go home because you did it. You did the thing.
But yeah, The Northman, it's amazing. It's just more that epic. It's not that epic though. I think it might be 2 hours and 17. It's not as epic as it's Green Knight epic. It's not the Batman epic, but it's you guys need to see it. It's so good. It's borderline horror, but look who you're talking to. So I'm fine with talking about it.
Mr. Fringe. Well, I rented and watched Wrymwood Apocalypse. I don't know if you guys remember Wrymwood Road of the Dead. That came out.
I remember watching it. I don't remember the movie.
Came out 2016. It's an Australian zombie movie. And again, it's a sequel to the first one, which it's kind of Mad Max meets, zombies. And in this world, it's like the zombie apocalypse has been going on for so long that people realize that these zombies are giving off fumes out of their mouths, and they use that to fuel their cars. So all the cars are souped up Mad Maxes with zombies strapped to them and masks on them to fuel the car. but there's like really cool world building rules. Like the zombies don't do the fume thing at night, but they are way more dangerous at night, stuff like that. But by the end of the first movie, one of the characters has like powers that she can control the zombies and stuff. So this new film, just continues that story. Like it opens up with that final scene, it goes right into it. And man, it's a lot of fun, man. If you like the first Wrymwood movie, you're going to enjoy the hell out of Apocalypse because it's literally just continuing it. And they follow a new character who's like kidnapping people to give to these scientists, as they say they're trying to find a cure in quotes. But, they're just evil scientists, and it's just a lot of fun. It's from the same team who also did Necrotronic. I think I said the name right, too. Yeah, especially if you're a fan of zombies, Mad Max, exploitation films, it's a fun afternoon.
I imagine there are car chases.
Oh, are there car chases? There's some really great car chases in it. Not as much as the zombies. The action is more on the emphasis with the zombies and whatnot. But there is some really cool. There's one in particular cool chase that happens with the vehicles. But yeah, I recommend it. I have a lot of fun with those movies, and I hope. I think they were doing a 10-episode series and a third movie if this one's successful. So throw your money at it.
All right, I'll have to keep an eye out on that because I saw the original Wrymwood years ago. As for me, I saw a new kind of sci-fi, kind of horror-ish type movie. This is Riley Stern's Duel. You guys know this one?
With Karen Gillan, right?
Yeah. Basically, it takes place in this kind of maybe alternate universe, maybe the future, where this woman finds out she's dying of a terminal disease, and they have this operation where they can just make a clone of you to take over your life once you're dead. But the trick of it is that they have to spend time with you before you die so that they can kind of learn to imitate you and be like you. But whoops, when you know it, she's not dying. And the law says that now they have to have a duel to the death in 1 year to decide who can live their life. And it's pretty wild, and it has a lot of great tension building, but also it's really funny. And the mirroring effects are really good because there's a lot of scenes with Karen Gillan, but you can't really tell who's I guess the real one or who's CG, or how they kind of pulled off both of them in the same scene. Also, Aaron Paul is in it as a martial arts and fighting instructor who teaches Karen Gillan's character how to fight Karen Gillan, basically.
Is the duel televised? Is it like a big deal?
Yeah. In fact, the opening scene shows one of them, and it's like this kind of big televised sporting event, and people in the background. Basically, there's it's kind of a battle royale thing where it's like each person starts at a different side, and there's a table full of weapons like spears and a crossbow and swords and javelins and hooks and basically all kinds of random stuff. But the main focus is on just kind of Karen Gillan's character as she kind of adjusts to life with kind of her mortality, but also this clone, and then having to realize she has to fight her clone to keep living. It's pretty wild stuff, and it's incredibly well written, and it's kind of slow paced. Although it's still very entertaining. So the duel itself isn't exactly the main focus, but it's very well written, and it does get pretty creepy at times, but also there's a lot of funny bits in there as kind of she kind of contends with her life and just kind of how weird the society is with clones. So yeah, I'd recommend it. It's like one of the best kind of sci-fi world building moves I've seen this year.
Is it Duel or Dual?
Dual.
So it's dual.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a play on words.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It could work for either.
No, it's Dual. Get it?
I get it.
That's a great way to also differentiate it from Steven Spielberg's Duel, which is also fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, Karen Gillan and Karen Gillan don't chase each other in a truck and a car.
I'd watch that.
I would watch that.
I'd watch the hell out of that. She's been killing it. I absolutely loved what was it? Milkshake.
Gunpowder Milkshake.
Gunpowder Milkshake. That was just such a fun movie. And
yeah, that was a good time.
And like just so many badass women in it, like Angela Bassett and Michelle Yeoh in it were just fucking fantastic as librarians.
Yeah, good shit.
Yeah. Did you guys see Ambulance?
No,
it's not really horror, but I do want to touch upon it. Ambulance, the new Michael Bay movie, is probably one of the better movies he's made, but it's still. It's weird. There's a lot of like unintentional funny moments, and then when they try to be funny, it just doesn't work. And there's like some really good moments in it. Like that first like half hour, I was sitting there going, "Holy shit, is this a Michael Bay movie that I'm gonna love?" Because I'm loving this so far. This is fantastic. Like all throughout the heist, it's great. And then like once they get into the ambulance, it was like they were trying to figure out what more they could do in there, and they couldn't cut out anything. There was a lot of cool stuff in there, but it's a ridiculous movie. There's a point where they have the paramedic because it's two brothers, and they make sure that there's two things that they drive into your head, that these guys are brothers and that this takes place in LA. It's like every 2 seconds, it's like, we're brothers. Oh, they're brothers. We're brothers, and we're in LA.
Yeah, it's very Michael Bay.
Oh man, it is. But like there's one point where the paramedic has to give surgery because they pull a heist that goes wrong. And then the two brothers take over an ambulance that has a cop that one of them shot in it, and they hijack that to try to escape. And so as long as they're trying to keep the cop alive, because if the cop dies, then that's, life in prison, as opposed to just like most of your life in prison, I guess. I don't know law. And there's one point where the paramedic has to do surgery on him to keep him alive. And she's like getting instructions from an old ex-boyfriend and some other surgeons who are playing golf over Zoom on like the tablet that also has the heart monitor on it. I didn't believe that tech. But yeah, it was just a really weird and goofy scene. And like I really wanted to like Ambulance a lot more than I did, but I feel like it could have, if it shaved like 20 minutes off, it could have been a lot more fun. But yeah, it was a very, very high energy, very tiring movie. Like every other shot is done by a drone, and that drone is just going fucking mental through downtown LA. So, I mean, like, it's fine. I'd recommend it if you're bored on like, and it's on HBO or something on a weekend, and it's like, I need a few hours to kill. Why not? Let's watch Ambulance.
It's just every time you say that, all I can think of is that viral video of that guy beating up the other guy on the bus, and him saying, that man's going to need an ambulance.
I don't say Amberlance. I say ambulance.
Okay. I'm just saying it reminded me.
Did you guys, I know Jacob has seen it. Have you guys seen The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
No, not yet.
I did.
Yeah, Correia, you have to see it. It's, as a Nick Cage fan, You have to see it, because it is, and it sounds so weird to say this, but Nick Cage was born to play the part of Nick Cage.
To clarify, it's like Nicolas Cage plays a character named Nick Cage, and that it's Nick Cage instead of Nicolsas Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage is playing Nick Cage, and then the Nick Cage gets enlisted by the CIA to play Nick Cage. So there's like layers upon layers. It's almost like Nick Cage gets cast in a Nick Cage movie in this Nick Cage movie.
And he's playing Nick Cage.
Meanwhile, Nick Cage.
The only thing that's unrealistic about it is that he's having trouble finding roles at the beginning of the movie, which Nick Cage does not have trouble finding roles. But the reason he ends up on Mallorca, I guess is how you say it. Because there's a super fan who wants him at his birthday party and is paying him $1 million. So he flies to Majorca. He gets caught up in this spy ring, and it's amazing because this super fan he's a super fan. I mean,
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, it's played by Pedro Pascal, who was the Mandalorian and also Oberon in Game of Thrones. But I don't really want to spoil any of the really fun parts, but this dude is a super fan, like stupidly super fan of Nick Cage.
There's a lot of Nicolas Cage movie props that make cameos in the movie. Well, throughout the movie, really. And
it references pretty much. I mean, it references the Croods too. I mean, it references pretty
Rumblefish.
Much. Yeah, it references so many Nick Cage movies, and it's cool because I mean, it's the kind of thing where if it wasn't Nick Cage playing himself, you would think they were making fun of him. But because he's actually there, it's kind of like a wink and a nudge. And he's like, oh, yeah, I know I've made all these movies.
It's affectionate.
Yeah, exactly. And it treats his cinematic catalog with like admiration and respect instead of making fun of, oh, this guy will take any role. You know, it's pretty incredible, though. I mean, it's just the definition of a fun movie.
But I need to know, what prop from Left Behind does he have in the mansion? Does he just have Chad Michael Murray in a glass case just on standby? Or do they have the plane?
Sadly, no Left Behind reference. Although there was a Mandy reference.
Yep.
Oh, were you happy about that, Jacob?
Yes, I was.
Were you happy about the Mandy reference?
Yes, I was very happy about that, John. I was very happy.
Yeah, because you like that movie, I think.
And I was happy because the movie literally begins with a character watching Con Air. And I'm like, okay, I'm in. Fade in, I'm in.
Which is how like every movie should open. Just somebody watching Con Air.
Yeah, no, especially if it's something set in the 90s. Like if it's set in the 90s, you're watching Con Air edited for TV.
Oh, if it takes place in the early 2000s, you're watching Con Air on TNT. Like that's just a guarantee.
Oh yeah.
If it takes place last weekend, you're watching Con Air on TNT. In between Star Wars marathons.
Oh, and also I got something I wanted to talk about because you guys know the George A. Romero Foundation, like the nonprofit group that is dedicated studies and archived all of George A. Romero's work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so last week they did a special screening of an unearthed kind of proof of concept that George A. Romero did for a Bigfoot movie he was trying to do back in the 90s called Jacaranda Joe, his Bigfoot movie.
Oh, wow.
And man, it was wild. Yeah, no, because he was way ahead of curve on this. So basically, Romero wanted to make a Bigfoot movie, and he wanted to frame it kind of in a found footage talk show kind of way. So it's basically about this daytime talk show like Donahue or Springer or whatever, and because this other show is like this hunting show with this celebrity football star guest in the Florida Everglades. Caught footage of Bigfoot, aka Jacaranda Joe, and it's actually pretty creepy because it's like because it is framed within the talk show, and they're watching the footage, and these hunters going through the woods, and it seemed pretty normal, and then like there's some pretty effective parts where like Bigfoot's just kind of hiding in plain sight or hiding in the background, and I mean it helps that it's kind of captured from a VHS tape to begin with, but yeah, it was only 17 minutes, but it was such a great setup. It just really makes you think what could have been. I
mean, you had me at George A. Romero Sasquatch movie. So I mean,
oh yeah,
you had me at Bigfoot movie.
But that's a great concept too. And that's one of the unfortunate things is like you hear about someone like George A. Romero, especially, who just had so many cool ideas and stuff that he was trying to get off the ground and just could not get the funding, especially 90s Romero. Like he for some reason was like persona non grata in a lot of circles.
Which is weird because even by the 90s, people realized how influential he was. So why was he having trouble unless it was a Stephen King movie? Why weren't people giving him money?
It really wasn't until like the like DVD horror generation came up, you know, that he started to like get that respect and start getting funding again, which is what led to like Land of the Dead and whatnot. But even like Bruiser, what I remember went through hell getting released, which was one of his early 2000 titles. But yeah, once Land of the Dead came out, then it was like, oh yeah, these smaller companies are going to give me money to keep making more, you know, of the Dead movies and whatnot. So he went for it.
I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if, you know, because he wanted to do things like Monkey Shines or The Dark Half, and everyone's like, oh, hey, when are we going to get another zombie movie?
Yeah.
I think he might have been pigeonholed a bit, especially because the zombie movie craze came back with a vengeance in the early 2000s. So I think that's kind of what fueled that.
Yep.
Yeah, like wasn't there a story like Romero thanking Edgar Wright for like making such a big zombie movie?
Well, I mean, I remember he definitely like had very kind words for Shaun of the Dead, and to the point where he casted Edgar Wright and
Simon Pegg
as Carnival zombies at the carnival in Land of the Dead, where they were like getting pinned onto the zombie or dunk tank, or it was something like
taking a picture with the zombies.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is unfortunate though, because he did have so many projects, and the George A. Romero Foundation has really put revealed, you know, just what a huge slate of stuff he could have been making. Like he had that one about the Vietnam veterans that were made into like super soldier zombies, and he wanted to do that Nuns from Space movie. And yeah, he really wanted to do a Bigfoot movie, because he had not just Jacaranda Joe, like he was pitching a couple different Bigfoot ideas around for years that sadly never materialized beyond this proof of concept.
Which, between his ponytail and his trademark ponytail and trademark vest, he looks like someone who goes Bigfoot hunting.
I believe they call it squatching.
Squatching, yeah. And that's not an insult at all. Like, he just looked prepared to go get some footage and, you know, do some foot castings and stuff.
Yeah. And the irony is that he would have probably found success with Jacaranda Joe, because this was years before the Blair Witch Project, and it felt kind of in the style of something like that.
Is it found footage?
Yes. Yeah, it was found footage. Well, the proof of concept was, you know, like this talk show, and then the footage was from another TV show that caught footage of Bigfoot. And I think the rest of the movie would have been them like going into the Everglades to try and find Bigfoot. And you know what happens when people try to find Bigfoot in these movies?
It sounds like it would have been like George A. Romero's Legend of Boggy Creek.
Yeah.
And that just makes me so sad that I can't see that.
In some universe, someplace, maybe.
There's a perfect universe out there where George A. Romero got to make his Sasquatch movie and the first Resident Evil movie.
Yes.
There is a perfect universe out there.
Did either of you guys get around to watching that Netflix movie Choose or Die?
No.
It's all right. I mean, it's good because it's on Netflix and it's quote free. But it's basically about these two computer geeks who they find this old video game from the 80s, and as they play the game, the stuff that they're playing like actually happens. You know, it's pretty typical in that regard. But like there's one scene where one of them's her mom is in her apartment, and there's like a rat in there that's like gonna eat her, like a giant rat.
Oh damn!
And she can see it's like an 8-bit two-dimensional map of the thing, and she's all okay, no, the rat is stay in the kitchen or stay in the bathroom, and then she goes, okay, no, it's now gone down the hallway, so now make a run for the window. You know, she's like trying to tell her mom what to do because she can see where the things are in the video. It's kind of tense, and it's all right, but it's one of those movies that like the tech already looks dated because it's modern times and they are using, you know, it's a video game from the 80s, but it kind of works because one of them repairs old like Commodore Amigas, you know, kind of a thing. You know, they repair and sell old computer systems, so it kind of works. But they load the game off of a cassette tape. That's how old the tech is. It's not even a floppy disk; it's a cassette. It's, you know, It's cool because it's free on Netflix, quote free, even though getting more expensive by the month, it seems. But
Can you record a video game onto a cassette tape? Is that
that used to be before floppy disks? That was the data.
okay?
That's how you'd have to do it. But the thing is, you would have to know where on the tape. I remember I had an old TI 99 that had a cassette recorder to save to, and you had to know where on the tape it was, and then you would hit your load command, and then you would hit play on the recorder. And if you hit record instead of play, there goes your program. But yeah, that was, you used to be able to record. It would save to cassettes.
Okay, yeah,
But you would have to know, where on the tape the program was in order to reload it.
learn something new every day. I wasn't in doubt that cassette tapes could be used as a storage, device. I mean, it makes sense because they have stuff on it, but I couldn't make the connection there. So
it's just magnetic, and if you'd play it, if you would play one of those in a regular player, it would sound like a fax machine kind of thing. The data sounds like it sounds like a modem or a fax machine. But yeah, those were the old. I'm dating myself. This is how everybody knows I'm like 20 years older than you guys, because I remember when they would use cassettes to cataloging was a bitch. I can see why they went to floppy disks, because they were more easily searchable.
Oh, I remember floppy disks. I found actually I don't know if it works yet because I don't have any floppy disks on me, but I found a converter where it's like you plug it in via USB for floppy disks.
Wow.
So I've been wanting to get my hands on some floppies to try to get to work.
When you say floppies, do you mean the little 3.5-inch ones or the 5.5-inch ones?
Probably the 3.5 inch.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
The more common one, yeah.
yeah. Because right after cassette tapes, they went to these big they might have been 5.25, but yeah, these big discs that were thinner than the 3.5-inch.
And before then, it was like discs that were the size of records, 12 inches and whatnot.
Yep.
Laser
discs.
Yeah, I never used those. I went right from cassette tapes to big floppies and then to little floppies.
I'm still trying to get a laser disc player someday.
Yeah, those things are pretty expensive, right?
I mean, yeah. And then, but I'm always on the lookout in thrift stores for them because you can occasionally find one in okay shape. But the problem is laser disc players also look like 5-disc CD players. So I always get super excited and go, oh, yeah, I finally found. Oh, fuck, it's a 5-disc CD changer. God damn it.
Because they're in a carousel instead of stacked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So one day.
Let's move on to our topic, which this was inspired by the sad news that Karyn Kusama's Dracula has been shelved, has been canceled. And it got us thinking about, there's been kind of a renaissance of it lately, but there still are not enough women making horror movies.
Yeah.
And I know that we were looking at this list that Correia, it was like a letterbox list, and it's better than it was, like years ago, but they're woefully underrepresented. Even though last year, 2 of the best movies of the year, Candyman and Titane, were made by women.
And Saint Maud.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Saint Maud.
I was about to say, did you just fucking forget Saint Maud?
I totally did forget Saint Maud. And yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How embarrassing is that? So 3 of the best movies of last year.
Yeah.
And Censor as well. So 4.
And Fear Street, 94.
Yeah, all 3 Fear Streets. Dang. Yeah. We could make a top 10 of just female directed movies.
My top 5 was 4 out of 5, at least. Yeah. But, I understand, it happens a lot where you'll see there's a period where suddenly 5 different studios are doing movies that are very similar, or get announced at the same time. We've seen them get released. There's the infamous like Ants versus Bugs Life, or after Tiger King came out, there was like 3 projects, including one that had Nick Cage attached to it for a moment, but only one succeeded. So, or that cycle every now and then when like 3 Robin Hood movies are being produced at the same time. So it's understandable that like when it was announced that there was going to be like 3 or 4 Dracula related movies, coming out that one of them was going to fall off. I'm just really sad it was Karyn's because her Dracula film was going to focus on Mina Harker more than the others. And she made the point that the original book took on multiple perspectives, even though for the most part, adaptations just focused on Jonathan Harker or Dracula's perspective. Hers would have been from Mina's, which sounds really interesting. And she was making it with her partner, and they did The Invitation and Destroyer together, which are two phenomenal films. So I was beyond stoked at a, mid-budget Dracula film from that perspective. But so, yeah, that's real sad. And yeah, that list we found on Letterboxd is called Horror Films Directed by Women 1900 to Present. It was made and maintained, because I see she just updated it recently, by Gory B Movie. And it's a very sad trend where you see in the early 1900s, there's a lot of adaptations by like Alice Guy Blanche, where I didn't know that she did a version of The Pit and the Pendulum, which is awesome. And then nothing for like 30, 40 years until Ida Lupita's The Hitchhiker. And then like it just you keep seeing these like gaps in releases and stuff. And it's very unfortunate.
That's very true. Yeah, no, I think it's like you were saying, just that there have been way too many gaps, and horror has gotten a little bit better about women in horror directing, but we could do way better. Yeah,
especially since like, I mean, you're looking at even recent years where we're saying it's getting better. It's only a handful of mid to decent budgets ones there, and a lot of these films aren't getting wide releases and what have you. I mean, there's the exceptions, with like Candyman and the Fear Street trilogy, getting proper releases. But there's a lot that were kind of swept under the rug or not getting a wide release, but they're fantastic movies. Going through this list and seeing what's coming out recently. One thing I really love is Shudder has an entire collection where it's just films directed by women, or co-directed by women. And they do a really great job of acquiring recent films that are, if you ever get a chance to, or next time, if you ever get a chance, next time you're on Shudder, look up that collection. There's some really great gems in there.
Yeah, no, like I was just thinking about how VHS 94 had a couple of women directors in its anthology, because there was Chloe Okuno and Jennifer Reeder, and really became a fan of theirs after that one. Like I was also lucky to see Chloe Okuno's upcoming movie Watcher for Sundance that's going to be coming out this year. So also just going to say that when that does come out, definitely go out and see it and support it, because I definitely want to see more from her. And and Jennifer Reeder did Knives and Skin, which I thought was a really fun movie, and I'm looking forward to whatever she's got coming up. But yeah, no, there's a lot of women directors, particularly I feel recently in anthologies. So you always just keep an eye out for that.
Anthologies and low budget slashers. There's been a lot of really good modern slashers being made by female directors. I just watched The Ranger on Shudder the other day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it had me at punk rock, slasher film, but that one was directed by Jen Wexler, and that's on Shudder, and it's a really fun movie. Creative kills, characters are a lot of fun to watch, and then of course, there's the ultimates with Slumber Party Massacre trilogy.
Well, quadrilogy now, because there's that new one that came out last year.
That's right. Nothing against the new one. I'm just still adjusting to referring to it as a quadrilogy, because that one definitely earned its spot as a part of it.
Yeah, it was directed by Danishka Esterhazy. And I really liked it too. And I felt like it was very in line with the franchise. And also, isn't it amazing that there's a slasher franchise like the Slumber Party Massacre directed entirely by women?
It's awesome. It's honestly one of my favorite things is that quadrilogy, especially when you look going through that list. One of the trends I noticed is how many of the major horror franchises aren't directed by women. And if they are, it's like a very late entry in it. So you got like Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare,
Candyman.
And then Candyman, it's the fourth one, you know?
Yep.
I mean, it's not like there isn't qualified female directors out there, and it's not just our niche of the industry as well. I mean, just on average, the amount of female directors that are getting that work or getting their projects off the ground is very low in the industry as a whole.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's sadly the state of it, you know, going back to Karyn Kusama's Dracula project getting the axe. You know, I feel like, yeah, we mentioned before just that, you know, you got to support these projects. You know, you got to, you know, speak up about these projects. You know, if you like certain directors, certain movies, especially by women, you got to, you know, show the support and show the studios and executives or whoever that these women can make incredible movies.
Yeah. I just looked up the statistic, and in 2001, female directors made up 17% of directors working on the top 250 grossing films in 2001, which is down from 18% in 2020. So, I mean, we can definitely do way better than that.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely can, and there are plenty of great horror movies by women, like even this year. You know, just thinking back about how, especially on streaming, I feel like a lot of women have been able to find opportunities through streaming services. Because let's see, you got Fresh, directed by Mimi Cave, that came out on Hulu, and you got Master by Mariama Diallo that came out on Prime Video. So, you know, it has been interesting just kind of how the media landscape has also had an effect on that in that regard. But you know, but particularly theatrical though, women deserve to you know, there's plenty of women who deserve to direct theatrical movies.
Well, this year, the Oscar winner for Best Picture, Coda, was directed by a woman, right. And the one that everybody thought was going to win, The Power of the Dog, was also directed by a woman. So, I mean, it's clear that, you know, that the women filmmakers are out there doing quality work. It's just, you know, I'm not sure how expensive could Karyn Kusama's Dracula have been where they shelved it? You know, that's what's so distressing about it is, you know, yeah, maybe they just figured, oh, we don't need another Dracula movie, not, you know, taking into consideration that it's going to be a different take on it. Who are some female filmmakers that you guys want to see more from? I can name two right off the top of my head. One is Jennifer Kent from the Nightingale and the Babadook, and the other is Lynn Ramsey, who did We Need to Talk About Kevin and You Were Never Really Here. I love the movies of both of them, and anything that they make, I'm going to watch.
And it's interesting that you bring up those two as an example, because they are notorious for coming out with a movie maybe every 10 years.
Yes.
You know? Like,
that's the thing. We don't see enough from these two. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen a couple interviews with them on the reasons behind that sometimes. And a lot of it is external, you know, and just like not getting the funding, not getting it out there. And so, yeah, I would 100% love to see more from them. They're both phenomenal filmmakers, both in their own rights, and man, they make some really brutal cinema. Isa Lopez, who did Tigers Are Not Afraid, she signed on for a few upcoming projects, including I guess a werewolf project is something that she's attached to, but I believe she signed a deal with Blumhouse. So I'm very excited that she's getting funding and is going forward with a lot of that, because Tigers Are Not Afraid, it was one of my favorite films of that year, and it's a gorgeous piece of cinema.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Chloe Okuno and very excited for when Watcher gets a main release this year. So very interested in seeing what she does after that. Don't know, but either way, I'll definitely support it. But yeah, also would love to see what Lee Janek does, after now that she's done the Fear Street trilogy, because I loved all three of those movies. And yeah, it's like a lot of this is, all these directors did really great jobs and showed a lot of promise. So you just want to see what they do next.
I can't wait to see what Rose Glass does next after Saint Maud, because I'm afraid that she's going to turn into one of those Lynn Ramsey, Jennifer Kents, where like we see a movie like every 6 or 7 years,
Yeah.
Which will be a shame because Saint Maud definitely left me wanting more. Didn't Jason Blum get in trouble for some comments he made about female filmmakers? Or
yeah, there was something about that. Was that a couple of years ago?
He said something about how there aren't any women filmmakers doing horror, and then of course the internet corrected him. It was something like that, where he just said the reason you don't see any horror movies by female directors is that female directors aren't doing horror. It's like, excuse me. He said it was something like that. Yeah. So I'm glad that he's getting behind it now with.
That's a rough statement, especially coming from someone who produced a few horror films directed by women, like Black Christmas, especially, which was so focused on it.
I think he did backtrack on it shortly after he said it. He's like, oh, look, that's not exactly what I meant. And, I shouldn't have said that. I think he did.
Yeah.
He did kind of walk back the comments.
Well, how you can really make up for it is by getting more qualified, awesome female directors behind the camera, making great horror, making great films. And there's so many great examples. Nia DaCosta did an absolutely fantastic job in Candyman, and she's a Black female director, which is even rarer.
Really excited to see what she does next. Yeah.
I want to, she's doing the Marvels next, which is awesome because she has on the record said that she wanted to make films that are fun, films that, aren't just about suffering and whatnot, which as great as Candyman is, that's at its core is a film of suffering.
Actually, now you bring that up, the winner of last year's Oscar, Nomadland, was directed by a woman too.
Which was the first time since Hurt Locker?
It maybe, yeah. But when you brought up the Marvels, because Chloe Zhao did the Eternals.
Yeah.
So the quality women filmmakers are out there. They need a shot.
Yeah. And that's what it is. You can have the best idea ever and you can put together the perfect pitch deck. But if someone doesn't fund it, it doesn't get made. It's a very, very hard process overall, getting anything made.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's a tough environment out there.
But there's always hope. There's some really great films coming out there. There's some really great talent. There's seems to be another shift in possible distribution. I don't know if it's just because I'm always hopeful that the mid-budget film's going to come back, but there's a lot of really great examples of that happening. I know I don't think I crapped on Ambulance that hard earlier. And I hope I didn't, because I genuinely did have a lot of fun with that movie. I had more pros than cons with it, but
I'm sorry. I'm on Team Jacob with how you say ambulance.
Ambulance.
It's ambulance is the way the word should be, and you're all ambulance.
Yeah, ambulance. So, but that was a mid-budget film from a very big budget director, man, of course, Michael Bay. But I was really rooting for that to do well because I want the return of the mid-budget film. Like what? Like it's either like we make it for like $5 million or $500 million. There has to be that middle ground, and with that middle ground, there's more. I don't want to say there's less risk, because there's always risk when you're putting money into something that may not get its money back. But with the mid-budget, there's less interference. There's less cooks in the kitchen because there's less money involved with it. And I just really want to see far more films, not just in horror, just any genre, being directed by women and women of color. especially like in driving that nice middle ground budget wise, where they have control, but they also have the money to do it. And yeah, that's really what I want in this world. It's just more perspectives, more colors, or more perspectives and more stories that come out of those, because, you know, it gets boring hearing the same story over and over and over again. I'm tired of seeing all the Luke Skywalkers out there and that generic story that we keep getting sold and putting so much money into. Like, how many movies are just like carbon copies of that same old hero's journey that we just keep getting fed over and over again? Like, it's nice to have something different, and it's nice to explore different storylines and lives. And that's what makes the world richer. We say it all the time. How boring would it be if every movie was made for us?
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. And again, you know, it's also a matter of supporting upcoming movies that you want to see more of, and from filmmakers you want to see more of. And definitely with the advent of social media, you know, like kind of outspoken support helps, which is why, you know, you see a lot of filmmakers, you know, practically begging people to be like, if you've seen the movie, please tweet about it, talk about it, letterboxed it. So, you know, you got to go up to bat if you really want to see more from certain directors and filmmakers. And yeah, I mean, I've already been kind of making a list of upcoming horror movies and stuff I'd love to see, and I definitely want to talk about at end.
Oh, definitely. I'm super excited for Hatchling. The Hatching. Yeah, by Hannah Bergholm.
Oh yeah.
I saw the trailer for that. I have no idea what's going on in that movie, but I am so excited. That's one of my most anticipated films of the year.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited for Bring It On, Cheer or Die, because I just love it when a franchise gets turned into a horror movie. And this one also has a pretty good crew behind it, because I mean, I don't really know much else about the movie, but it's directed by Karyn and it was written by Alison Faust, Rebecca McKendry, and Dana Schwartz. So yeah, no, just a great team, and come on, it's Bring It On turning into a slasher movie. What's not to love? Which
should have happened with that franchise much sooner, because I have seen a good portion of the Bring It On franchise, and it definitely ran out of steam by, you know, Worldwide Cheer, I think it was the fourth or fifth one. But man, like what a perfect setting for a horror film. And like, yeah, I was wondering who was going to bring It On, Cheer or Die, because I was definitely waiting to bring that one.
Yeah.
Because I am very excited for that movie.
Oh yeah, no, that's going to be fun. And speaking of, also excited for Rebecca McKendry's other movie coming up this year, Glorious, with J.K. Simmons and Ryan Kwanten. Again, don't know much about it, but it sounds pretty weird. And, you know, and Rebecca is such a great filmmaker and horror scholar. And yeah, no, just I want to support her work, and I want to check it out.
You know what I just found here, and I wonder if this has anything to do with Karyn Kusama's Dracula being canceled. Chloe Zhao is supposedly developing Dracula for Universal.
Huh.
I wonder if that has anything to do with why they pulled the plug on Karyn Kusama's.
Weird.
I do believe I heard that that's one of the ones working, because then you also got Renfield, which is supposed to be the dark comedy with Nick Cage as Dracula, and then a few others.
Robert Eggers is supposedly doing Nosferatu.
I think they got shelved.
It's been shelved and restarted a few times, but yeah, I think right now it's on the shelf.
He's been trying to, like, I remember when that was going to be his second film.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And because I remember going, you made a really great first film there, Eggers, but that's a lot of hubris to tackle Nosferatu as your second picture, which, like, I was here for it. I was definitely gonna watch the hell out of it. But another film that's coming out later this year that I'm very excited for, that's female directed, is Piggy by Carletta Perdia. Peretta. I'm terrible with names. My apologies, folks. It just looks like a very interesting film, something that I haven't really seen before. Plus, love. It looks to be one that fits that different perspective. It's Spanish film shot in Spain, and it just looks like another really weird movie that's just right up my alley.
Actually, I saw it at Sundance, and it was great. I loved it.
You saw it already?
Yeah, I saw it through the Sundance Virtual Fest, and it was really good. It is an interesting kind of slasher from, it's from the perspective of the unpopular girl in the village, and she's constantly bullied by the popular girls, and she's fat shamed, and kind of deals with that type of small town life, and this killer on the loose. I'm very interested to get a lot of people's perspectives on it once it gets a full release, but I really liked it, and can't wait to see more work from Carlota Peretta.
And don't forget, folks, Woodlands Dark and Days Bewitched, the 3-hour folk horror film, was directed by Kirla Hanes, and that is on Shudder right now and is 1000% worth a watch as well. Shudder, I'm going to bring it back to Shudder because their section under their Horror 101 directed by women has 35 titles under there, and all are noteworthy to watch, including the original Slumber Party Massacre trilogy. They don't have the fourth one on there yet, but hopefully sometime soon. But it is available on Blu-ray, so complete the quadrilogy, folks.
So the TLDR of this episode is support your female filmmakers.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Talk about it. Pay money for their movies. Spread the word. Write good letterboxd reviews if you really like the movie. All that type of stuff.
Quick shout outs to female filmmakers we haven't mentioned yet. Axel Carolyn, Brea Grant. Who else we got?
Mary Lambert.
Lee Ann Kerr, Student Body.
Chelsea Stardust.
Oh yeah, Chelsea Stardust. Let's see. Amalia, who also directed the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards.
Are you allowed to say that yet?
They announced
that was announced.
Yeah. So and don't forget, folks, the Amalia produced and directed the Chainsaw Awards for Fangoria. That's going to Shudder on May 15th. And keep an eye out in some of that footage. You won't hear some familiar voices, but you might see some faces that actually they're not familiar because this is not a visual medium. Why do we always run into that issue?
Sharp eye viewers might recognize you guys from I don't know, from pictures. I don't know.
Well, you'll see. But it was a good time, and congrats again to Amma for directing the show, and also wanted to do a big shout out to Prano Bailey Bond, who directed Censor, which was my favorite movie of 2021.
Yes,
very excited to see what she does next.
And we didn't mention Julia DeCorno by name, but we did bring up Titane. But yeah, Titane and is it Titane or Titan?
Titane.
Titane.
It's the French word for titanium.
Okay, that's what I've been saying, but other people have said it's Titan. I'm like, no, I think it's Titane. Anyway, she did. She Titane and Raw, so it's whatever, And I think the future for her is pretty bright after winning the Palm. So I don't think she'll have any trouble getting any movie she wants to get made.
But again, that was too long of a gap between Raw and Titane.
Yeah. Yep. And it was
Mary Herron as well. I just want to give a shout out. American Psycho, of course. The Betty Page picture she did. I even had a lot of fun with the Moth Diary. So, yeah. Oh, and I shot Andy Warhol. Oh my God. I almost forgot to mention that.
Cool. Well, if we missed your favorite female filmmaker, or if you are a female filmmaker we missed, give us a shout out. Let us know that we missed you. And we'll give you a shout out because that's what we're about.
More than that, if you're a female director and you have an upcoming project, hit us up. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to help promote the shit out of it as much as we can. Yeah.
Absolutely. Our theme music is by Restless Spirit, so go give them a listen. And our artwork is by Chris Fisher, so go give him a look. You can find us pretty much anywhere. The Ion Horror socials, pretty much anywhere that's anywhere. We're on Facebook, Insta, Twitter. You can find us all at iHorror.com. And go check out iHorror.com anyway, because there's plenty to read there.
And don't forget to check out iHorror, because Bree and Kelly are there, and they do some great end of year focus lists on female directed horror films throughout the year, especially Bree. Check out their podcast, Murmurs from the Morgue, where they dissect and talk about these films a lot as well.
All right. And let us know your favorite female filmmakers. Even if we have talked about them, let's talk about them some more.
Yeah.
And we will see you in a couple weeks. So for me, James J. Edwards.
I'm Jacob Davison.
I'm Jonathan Correia.
Keep your eye on horror.